All right, folks, so we've got some bad news on Apple, and this has to do with a court case between Epic Games and Apple. Let's go ahead and take a look at, first, the stock. Let's see how Apple is performing today, because really we had a lot of pain in the markets today. All indices red. We've got Apple down 3.31%, which for Apple, that is a very big move. I wonder if Google's following it, because Google's got a few antitrust lawsuits, and I wouldn't be surprised if you had a little bit of a shift in Google as well. Google, yeah, look at that, down 2% because of court rulings against Apple carrying over to some weight against Google, essentially. So yeah, take a peek at this. I mean, this is a sharp drop for Apple here. We've had sharp drops before, but look, 2% on something like, I'm sorry, 3.3% for Apple. That's a lot. So let's take a look at why, and Bloomberg has a full story on it right here. Apple stands to lose a few $1 billion annually from ruling. Oh, it's just a few $1 billion, just a few. Let's take a look. So what this has to do with is App Store purchasing. So remember that if you sign up for a subscription through an Apple device, Apple gets 30% of that revenue. And why does that matter? Well, it matters because let's say Apple has a Netflix app, and you sign up for Netflix at netflix.com and you pay $9.99 on Netflix. Let's call it $10. If you sign up through Apple, Apple would get 30% of that. So it's kind of like Netflix is still providing all the service, right? But just because it was done through the Apple Store, Netflix would get 30%. This new ruling would make it so essentially Netflix could in the app say, hey, look, if you sign up on our website, you can sign up for $10 a month. If you sign up through your iPhone because it's convenient, we're going to charge you approximately, let's say, $13.30, right, to offset that. So anyway, let's take a look at the actual Bloomberg article on this and see what some of the details are around this. So, and this would apply obviously to games, apps, subscriptions, I mean, even newspaper subscriptions. In fact, some of you wonder like, hey, how come I can't press the join button on YouTube from my iPhone or iPad? Because many of you know that, for example, in this stream here, because we're live streaming this, there's a live chat on the side and members can chat in it. This is a great way to minimize spam. And you can only join the membership, which is like $4.99 a month, if you sign up through a desktop browser. Like you can't sign up through the iPhone or an iPad. And a lot of people are frustrated by that. They're like, come on, YouTube, like let me sign up through the iPhone or the iPad. And Google's like, we ain't paying the 30% for Apple, so screw Apple. It's basically a big middle finger to Apple from Google. So this has been something that's been an issue ongoing. So Apple has been ordered to make the most significant change to its App Store business model since launching the platform in 2008, which, by the way, I had an iPhone the day the App Store came out, which was the day before the iPhone 2 came out, which back then was the iPhone 3G, which sounds like third generation, but that was the old cell signal. 3G was cool back then, okay? 3G was like, oh my gosh, that's fast. Today it's like, but anyway, and it could cost the tech giant a few $1 billion annually. In a ruling Friday, a U.S. district judge said that the company must allow developers to bypass its commission on in-app purchases. That's incredible, because this is a judge going out of the way saying, hey, you know what, Apple, you've created a platform that consolidates millions of people into one store. It's kind of like, let's say you have the Sawgrass Mills Mall in Florida. You bring all these people to your mall, and all the stores inside benefit. So when you do a party, or you do an ad campaign for your mall, or you hire a musician to perform at the mall or whatever, everybody goes to that mall, and the stores there benefit, right? That's the argument with Apple. Apple has this collected captive audience of folks. And so really a judge here has said, I don't care. You can be in this mall and not have to contribute to Apple, even though they're consolidating people in that space, right? Now, I see both arguments here, and this is touchy, but this is a really bad ruling for app stores, which is probably also why Google's getting whacked, is they also have the Android App Store. Yeah, I mean, look, Apple takes 30% commissions on fees processed through the App Store for bringing people to the app, to bringing people to the ecosystem. This ruling, which it could be overturned, right? It could still be overturned, so to be determined. I would expect that this will get appealed. We'll see. This includes letting iOS apps use, quote, buttons, external links, or other calls to action to direct customers to other purchasing methods other than Apple's payment system. I mean, this is like the kiss of death, honestly, for the 30% commission, in my opinion, because if I'm an app developer, which we have an app, right? We've got the Meet Kevin app you can download. It's totally free. But let's say I'm an app developer and I decide, hey, you know what? I want to, I'm going to sell a service in my Meet Kevin app, let's say. I don't know. You get the stock alerts, let's say, and it's $100 a month or something like that. If I had to pay Apple a 30% commission, well, after this ruling, rather than you just checking out with Apple Pay right there, like, bloop, oh, you've subscribed, rather than that, I could just have a little pop-up that goes, hey, click this link to sign up on my website, and then it'll redirect you back to the app and it'll get unlocked, right? That's, I mean, of course, as a business, I would do that to cut Apple's 30% out, but now I'm free riding, right? I'm using Apple's platform while making money without contributing back to the platform. So I don't know. This is a pretty damaging ruling, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets overturned because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, at what point does this marketplace that Apple has created become kind of like a public domain, right? It's a blow to Apple, but one that's the world's most valuable company. Well, yeah, of course, Apple can absorb it. That's helped investors take the decision in stride, though the shares fell as much as 3.5%. The court has affirmed what we've long known. The Apple App Store is not in violation of of antitrust law, and success is not illegal. Okay, so Apple did not lose here, right? It's just one part of the lawsuit really hurts Apple. They won the ruling against Epic, but more importantly was what ended up happening to Apple's App Store potential revenue. But anyway, here's some details. Apple's adversary in the trial, Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, contended that the judge sided with Apple. This isn't a win for developers or consumers, says Epic. Apple's commissions from the App Store generated $6.3 billion last year, with most of it coming from in-app purchases and subscriptions. That $6.3 billion could literally go to zero. I mean, like, why would a developer share now? Why would anybody be motivated to pay Apple the 30%? Apple's going to have to figure out, okay, well, what can we do to entice people to still buy through Apple, right? Maybe they lower their commissions to 10% or something like that to still make it easy and desirable for people to use it. It's a problem. Because once people transition away to their own payment systems, why would they ever go back to even paying that 10%? Big mess. That money is what's at stake as games and other apps prepare to steer customers away from Apple's ecosystem. Earlier, Apple said it would allow developers of so-called reader apps to point users to outside purchasing methods. That category includes things like Netflix, Spotify, news, and so on. But the decision Friday means the rule will have to apply to games and other categories, basically everyone. Apple said it's too early to determine how or exactly what changes will be implemented. Gaming apps accounted for 70% of all App Store revenue. And wow, that's crazy that gaming accounts for 70% of the rev. And this is kind of like Epic Games' argument, like, hey, like, if we're selling people skins in the game for $10, let's say, why are you taking $3 of all those skins? You didn't design it. You know, you had nothing to do with selling it or advertising that skin other than just having this domain where the app is hosted. But that's just because we're trying to provide a game on the iPhone as well, just like we provide the game on Android or PCs. And it's a little bit messy. It's a messy one. Apple made about $3.8 billion in revenue from games in 2020, most of which came from in-app purchases. But even if the ruling ends up costing Apple a few bill a year, that's still a fraction of its total revenue. In 2021, the company is estimated to bring in more than $360 billion. Yeah, that might be true, but keep in mind, the revenue that Apple gets from the App Store is significantly higher margin than the other revenue. Remember, if Apple sells you AirPods for, I don't know what they cost now, $250 or whatever, Apple's probably going to profit somewhere around $50. Like, that's what they're going to bring to the bottom line is $50 on those, right? But if Apple sells $250 worth of commissions on games on their App Store, I mean, come on, what is that going to cost Apple? That's going to be like a 97% profit margin, right? They're going to take like $242 of that to the bottom line. So there's a huge difference there. So it's not as, I mean, like that $6.7 billion or whatever could be worth as much as, I mean, I would say as much as 4 times in product revenue. They might have to sell $25.6 billion worth of iPads and iPhones to make up for that loss in commissions that they just got burned out of. So that's very important to consider. Let's see. Yeah, that's true. This is another option. Y'all write in the chat here. It's not free writing if there's a developer fee. That's true. Maybe every developer who wants to be part of the ecosystem has to pay to play now. You know, that's possible. The judge did not rule that out. Hey, Apple could just say, look, everyone who's listed in our app store, you have to pay X dollars per month, and they can quickly get that money back. At least some of it, probably not as much as they used to. The ruling states that Apple must let developers communicate with the customer through points of contact. This is like having a pop-up saying, hey, join our email list or go to our website to check out or whatever. The ruling ultimately means Epic's Fortnite will come back to the App Store. The game was originally removed last year for using its own payment method, bypassing Apple's fees. So this is in essence, the judge said, like, this is okay. Like this lawsuit between Epic Games and Apple has now essentially allowed this separate payment platform to be used everywhere. And again, that's very, very high margin revenue that just went out the door. Big loss for Apple. It's like, I think Bloomberg is downplaying this. I mean, they're downplaying. I wonder if Apple's like one of this person's big holdings or something. Sorry, that's jaded. I should take my tinfoil hat off. I'm sorry, Mark. But seriously, Apple stands to lose a few $1 billion annually from ruling. Like, even the title's like, it's just a few $1 billion, right? I made that joke earlier. Or even what they mentioned over here where they compare the 6.3 billion, okay, not 4, whatever, to the 360 billion the company's gonna bring in, right? Important differences here, and differences matter. The ruling could ultimately, yeah, okay, well, we're gonna come back, that's fine. Ruling is believed to mean that users would be able to make purchases via the web rather than having a competing, oh, they typoed, Bloomberg typo, gotcha. Competing payment system in the apps themselves. This means Epic would need to build a website to let users make purchases and include a link to that website. Okay, so that's a little bit less ideal, right? Like, it'd be nice to just in the app be able to click buy and then Apple Pay checkout. But in that case, Apple gets their commish. This would have to have a totally different link to where it opens up Safari and then reopens the app. But for 30%, developers don't do that. I mean, how hard is it? You make a single splash page, click the little, you could probably still buy with Apple Pay, honestly, because it's separate from the App Store, right? And just revert right back, like have a single line of code that just reopens the app after checkout is complete, and then a message that pops up and says, thanks for your purchase was successful, your features are now unlocked or whatever. Like this should be very easy to develop. It should be no problem for developers to handle. The ruling doesn't apply to the revenue that Apple previously lost. The judge ruled that Epic owes Apple for missed fees. $3.7 million, all of this for $3.7 million, okay. Apple has argued that its tight control of the App Store helps protect consumers and prevent developers from swindling users. Interesting. Still analyzing the decision, which is 180 pages long, but the headline is that Apple's App Store business model has been validated. I mean, obviously, Apple's taking the high road to this approach here, but yeah, look, this gives you some details on what the heck is happening here with Apple, and hopefully you found that helpful. If you like my kind of perspective on this stuff, make sure to hit that red subscribe button and turn it gray. All right, thanks for watching this part on Apple.